Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to present on how has thinking and learning changed over time. To understand how thinking and learning has changed over time, I will first want to talk on cognition. Cognition is how people go about the process of thinking. This includes all that encompasses brain functions, including input and output. The mental processes of knowing, including aspects such as awareness, perception, and reasoning and judgment, right, all go into cognition. Why is understanding cognition important? Understanding how people think is important to understanding how they learn. Understanding how people learn will help you as an instructional designer in developing effective instructions. So if you know what makes a student tick, it's going to be easier for you to know how to better address their learning needs. History. How has thinking and learning changed over time? The first examples is in the 4th and 5th centuries BCE. Probably the earliest theories about how the mind works were made from Greek philosophers who believed that the mind was perceived images given off by objects. These perceived images were then copied and stored in the memory. In contrast, during that time, idealism, which was developed by philosophers like Plato, suggested that reason was the main source of understanding. So in this time period, you actually have two conflicting ideas here about how learning takes place. 9th century, the influence of the church led to scholasticism. This was a mixture of Aristotelian and church writings and thought. This was built around the organized system of truth, which coincided with church doctrines. Many believed that humans were incapable of acquiring knowledge without it being first revealed by God. During the 7th and 18th centuries, movement shifted away from the belief that truth was solely inspired by God and the individual was incapable of understanding truth or what is real. Thinking was more focused on observation, experience, rational thought, and the scientific method. During the 19th century, philosophy continued to influence how thinking and processes function, but the emergence of psychology changed everything. Especially being educational psychology, this influenced instructional designers and their views of thinking. The view was based on research and how thinking and learning were interconnected. During the 20th century, two major perspectives emerged from psychology. The first one was behaviorism. Mental processes are invisible and cannot be studied scientifically. What can be studied is their outward behavior, right? Hence the behaviorism. Rather than speculating on internal causes for why things take place, focus should be placed on how organisms respond to their stimuli. Cognitivism. This perspective came out of post-World War II and believed that internal mental processes are considered important and are capable of being studied. More recent perspectives. Constructivism. Centered around the idea that an individual constructs his own understanding of the world he lives in by his experience. Neuroscience, the study of the brain and the nervous system. Postmodernism, a reaction to the assumed certainty of scientific and objective efforts to explain reality. Why is all this important why is it important in general to understanding perspectives of learning and thinking? Instructional designers, right, people who design instruction for students can possibly use this information to better understand learners and determine how to better teach students, right? What is your personal perspective, right? Do you take from behaviorism? Do you take from other perspectives, right? Knowing this, right, and understanding the different ways that people learn and think can help you better address their needs. Some educators, right, take from multiple of these to influence them. Everyone has their own learning styles, and so being able to identify learning needs, that is the most important thing. That concludes my presentation, right, on how people learn and think in the history as well. Have a good night.